is Mrs Kay Sanders of Wales and South West, £100. And the third is Mr John Kitchen of the Yorkshire region, £75.
It's got to be all a fiddle, isn't it?
If the winners would come over to stand 21 as soon as they're able, and thank you again for taking part, and please encourage your members to participate in the GMB Credit Union. Remember, it's your credit union.
I'm having a holiday.
Is that it? It's time.
What are you looking for? Malcolm? What are you looking for, babe?
Yeah, I know.
What are you looking for?
Alan Johnson. Yeah. Can we now start with the Standing Orders Committee Report number 5? And I call on Helen Johnson to move Standing Orders Committee Report. Helen?
President, Congress, Helen Johnson, Midland and East Coast Region, Standing Orders Committee Chair, moving SOC Report number 5. Withdrawn motions and rule amendments. Just to confirm that the following rule amendments were withdrawn from the floor of Congress yesterday. Southern Region withdrew Rule Amendment 386 and London Region withdrew Rule Amendment 390. The SOC has also been advised that the following motions have been withdrawn by the regions concerned. Birmingham and West Midlands have withdrawn 254 and 258, and Southern Region have withdrawn 248, 259, 271 and 272. Bucket collections. Yesterday's bucket collection by GMB Scotland for Guide Dogs for the Blind raised the sum of £608.49. President, Congress, I move SOC Report number 5.
Thank you, Helen. All in favour of the report, please show. Thank you. We now move into the last of our CEC special reports. And can I ask Andy Newman of the CEC Southern Region to move on the special report on Brexit? Andy?
Thank you, Congress. President, Vice President. It's Andy Newman speaking on behalf of the Central Exec Committee, moving the special report on Brexit. And I'd like to thank all of the regions for withdrawing motions on this topic in favour of the special report. Congress, comrades, last year at Congress we debated the Union's position on the referendum, and we agreed a position of an angry Remain. Angry because the balance between the social policies and the economic policies of the EU we felt were no longer working for many working people. But Remain because we saw, on balance, remaining in the EU was the best position in terms of economic stability, jobs and employment rights. Nevertheless, on 23rd of June 2016, a majority of the British electorate voted to leave the EU, including many of our members. GMB accepts the result, and our priority now is to ensure that the GMB members do not pay the cost of Brexit. In September 2016, the CEC adopted a statement on Brexit committing to the GMB to working across all sectors and every level to protect job interests, employment rights for our members and their families. The special report confirms that this work is underway. We've developed a GMB workers' Brexit strategy and have established a working group including a number of CEC members to assist in the work in the direction of this work. We are monitoring and mapping our sectors in relation to the threat of restructuring and withdrawal of investment, and we're developing networks of members who are monitoring and reporting any developments on the ground. We're also working with the TUC, the Labour Party and our trade union colleagues and MEPs at European level to ensure that our union grasps the opportunities that EU exit and our future relationships with the EU may bring. It is clear that the Conservative government, if re-elected, will be neither inclusive nor transparent in relation to its negotiation position. but GMB will insist that we're involved in that process. We'll use all spheres of influence at our disposal, regionally, nationally, and at European level, to ensure our voice and the voice of our members is heard in the process. But the negotiations will not be easy. There's already a dispute about the cost of leaving the EU. The EU assesses that we need to pay 600 billion. The Conservative government believes that this should be zero. And we have concerns that the current government, is reckless in terms of future involvement with European institutions in research and other funding programmes, and is pledged to leave the EU nuclear energy community, Euratom, which we are opposed to. The issue of movement of workers is a key concern in the referendum campaign, and there's no point in us beating about the bush at that. GMB wants to see the rights of those workers, EU citizens working and residing in the UK, resolved immediately, and also the issue of British citizens residing in the EU. For Theresa May, EU citizens in the UK might be a bargaining chip, but for GMB, they're our friends, our neighbours, our work colleagues and fellow GMB members. But GMB demands that any future UK migration policy must base itself on guaranteeing the rate for the job and not on the exploitation of workers and the undercutting of terms and conditions. We want to see an end to agencies and employers recruiting only from overseas, from low-wage economies, and denying the local workforces the right to apply for jobs. We have had an immigration policy that has failed to address basic issues such as the oversupply of labour in certain sectors of the economy, and that has allowed exploitation by unscrupulous employers. That has led to tensions and in some cases to a rise in hate crimes, and it must not be allowed to continue. Now, the GMB does not trust the current Conservative government, and that if they continue to be the Conservative government on Thursday, we do not trust them to protect and promote employment rights, despite vague promises about being a workers' party. We know that's rubbish. We will oppose any attempts to undermine the wide range of rights and protections that we have fought so hard to gain from the European Union. But we also recognise that workplace rights is unfinished business. We will campaign for improvements and new rights in relation to 0 hours and the gig economy. And we will also fight to ensure that any improvements in workers' rights at the EU or international level are brought into the UK. We also recognise that leaving the EU poses particular concerns for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Gibraltar, who voted with a majority to remain in the UK. It is vital that the British government is inclusive in finding practical and working solutions to these difficult issues, and in particular ensures that border issues are resolved to protect economic security, jobs and peace in Northern Ireland. Leaving the EU, though, gives the UK the opportunity to reframe our trade policy. We've long been critical of the trade deals of free trade that the EU and World Trade Organization have sought based on a power grab and free markets. We want to see future UK trade policy that puts people before profit and that maximises new job opportunities in manufacturing, ports and other areas. Similarly, we want to see public contracting laws promote adherence to collective bargaining, a living wage, local jobs, training and production. Congress, we're in uncharted territory with a government that has failed to grasp what needs to be done in Brexit negotiations. But the GMB can be trusted to ensure that we will fight for the interests of our members in that process and promote our members' jobs and economic security. I move the special report.
I will now call upon one speaker from each region who wishes to put up a speaker. Birmingham.
President, Congress, visitors in the cheap seats. Elliot Downing, Birmingham, West Midlands region. Birmingham accepts the CEC's special report on Brexit. However, we do have concerns what will happen to migrant workers from the EU that are already here. We should show international solidarity with those workers to ensure that they're welcome, they're working, and they're with us. There's a net benefit to having migrant workers in the economy. They're culturally enriching, and they've built families, friendships, and lives in this country. We will not give in to fear, and we shall try not to make sure that they're used politically as pawns. We accept this motion as a region. No pasarán.
No, lean forward. London.
Paul Colbert, London Region, speaking to the CEC Special Report, Brexit and Beyond. President, Congress. London Region supports the Special Report, Brexit and Beyond, and is happy to withdraw Motion 250 in favour of it. This report deals completely with the demands of our motion. When people voted to leave the EU, they did not intend a deregulation of workers' rights, civil rights and human rights. They did not vote for a right-wing takeover of business policy. They did not vote for big business over people. Congress, please join with the London Region in supporting this far-reaching document. London Region supports this Special Report, Brexit and Beyond. Thank you.
Midland. Northern. Northwest.
Congress, Dave Flanagan, North Western Irish Region, supporting the CC Special Report on Brexit. Tories want Brexit for the free market. A free market is a way of them to destroy the workers' rights. For 7 years, the Conservative government have sought to get rid of the social partnership in Europe that protects workers' rights. Health and safety, working time directive and rights to consultation. Brexit for them is yet another way of introducing anti-trade union legislation under the cloak of Brexit. Does anyone in this hall believe this government wants to protect workers' rights? Many of those who had a genuine view about Brexit were sold a pack of lies. Congress, I think, as you can see from the Tory campaign, they only wanted a strong hand to negotiate what they want without being accountable. During this Tory campaign, tell me one policy, if you can find it, that adds to workers' rights, that makes companies accountable and contributes to the need of social justice in the world of work. They only have one Brexit plan. You pay with your rights, so that their friends in financial institutions, multinational corporations and investors can walk away with increased profits on the backs of the working poor. Let's hope Brexit becomes Maggie May's exit from number 10, and we trust a politician with integrity to do a true Brexit deal. Congress, we support.
Congress, good morning. I just want to make a quick announcement, then I'll hand back to Malcolm. Please note that at 11 o'clock this morning, I will suspend Congress so that we can observe a minute's silence for the victims of the London Bridge attack. Could I please ask those of you who are able to do so stand so that we can all observe the 1 minute silence across the country today in memory of the victims of the London Bridge terrorist attack. Thank you. I'll give you pre-warning of that, so I hope everyone will observe, but I know you will. Thank you.
Scotland. Southern.
Hi, my name is Ray Cabanas, first-time delegate and first-time speaker. So no matter how we voted on the 23rd of June, we can all agree it's a contentious issue. And uncovering deep divisions within our country, society. And the Tories ran a campaign based on fear, lies, and distrust. An attempted power grab, trying to create a one-party system. The fallout from this is the fear and uncertainty felt by thousands of our immigrant members who are now unsure and insecure in their workplaces up and down the country. Every week, I'm helping our members to fill in the ridiculous paperwork necessary to become citizens, creating more fear and insecurity. I'm the son of immigrants, ones who have lived, worked, and contributed to the UK society and economy for over 50 years. So I call on the GMB to demand the government fully maintains all the rights and privileges enjoyed by all the workers. And we want to take this public and political awareness campaign into workplaces across the country and ensure rights at work are protected after Brexit. Thank you.
South Western, Yorkshire.
President Congress, Ashima Quiano, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire region. Congress, we walk into this Brexit blind, but GMB won't walk into Brexit with our eyes closed. There's a challenging times ahead, as shown in the report. That's why GMB has to be 100% as part of this challenge. GMB has a membership of workers, the unemployed and retired members, and that's why Brexit shouldn't fit one, but fit all. And GMB will fight for that. Even before Brexit, the Tories brought in the trade union bill. What will happen when Brexit, if Tories are elected, will happen then? I think, unfortunately, more of our rights will be taken away. The divorce settlement, what a joke. Didn't the Tories realise this before deciding to take us down the referendum? It's not the Tories turned a blind eye to the cost of Brexit in their campaign. Ignorance is a bliss, don't you think? EU and foreign nationals have contributed so much to the British industry, especially in the NHS. On Congress, we can't forget this. Congress, we need to ensure that all their rights are protected once we exit. Congress, I actively support this report, actively as GMB members. Thank you.
Colleagues, could I have that report formally seconded, please? Thank you. We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. Can I now call on motions 253 North West, 264 North West, 265 Southern and 273 London to come to the front, please? And motion 253 North to the rostrum. North Western Island. But thank you. 264. No, we're drawn up.
President, Congress, my name is Yvonne Cowell. I'm a first-time speaker. Moving motion 264 Brexit. Sisters and brothers, this motion calls on the CEC to lobby whatever government takes power on the 8th of June, which is Labour. We have to make sure the Brexit negotiations protect the manufacturing sector. I have worked in the furniture industry for over 23 years. Congress, we have to make sure that companies are not at a disadvantage in the markets they have to operate in. We also have to make sure that Brexit negotiations do not affect our terms and conditions. We need to feel secure in our jobs and our families, and not just so the company continues to provide a dividend for the shareholders. More importantly, Brexit negotiations do not reduce our terms and conditions and regulations from Europe that protect our members. They were fought hard to achieve. Working time regulations, the health and safety regulations that are in place, cannot be affected. We need to feel safe and secure in our workplace. Our members' lives are not for sale. I am not for sale. I move, sorry.
Thank you, colleague. Formally seconded. 265, Southern.
President. Congress. Steve Mason, Southern Region, moving motion 265, Brexit and duty-free. Congress, I wish to commence by asking you to dispel any preconceived ideas you may have that this motion is in any way frivolous. This motion is about members' jobs, terms and conditions, pay, and the capacity of business to maintain travel and trade arteries on a full-year basis. I further wish to dispel any idea that we are making a case for a clean and hard Brexit. We have serious concerns about the adverse impact on business, trade, employment and finance resulting from a hard Brexit. We make our case for the restoration of UK-EU duty-free on the basis that Theresa May and her Conservative government, if returned this Thursday, have stated categorically that Brexit means leaving the single market, the customs union and the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. This is enshrined in the Tory manifesto. Hopefully, the Tories will not have the option of implementing their manifesto, but if they do, then the conditions which brought about an end to UK-EU duty-free will have been reversed. It was Maastricht, the International Market and the Single European Act that gave the decision to end European duty-free. We respectfully remind you that duty-free is not a new phenomenon. For most of the period, the UK has been linked to Europe as an economic entity. Intra-EU duty-free has existed. Duty-free with the rest of the world currently exists. The restoration of intra-EU duty-free would be a boost for the shipping, ferries, airport and airline and general tourist industry, but would also be advantageous, for example, our drinks businesses and the Scottish whisky industry, where clearly we have a large GMB membership. If we use my own industry of ferries as an example, the loss of duty-free was a greater hit than the building of the Channel Tunnel. The loss of duty-free was devastating and set in motion a business realignment which led to an attack on terms and conditions which prevails today. Current CEC member Dave Clements, who was convener and European Secretary at the time, working in tandem with Southern Regional Secretary Paul Maloney, GMB senior officer also at the time, faced a constant battle against attacks on the workforce. They will testify to the challenges created by an end to the intra-EU duty-free. Our business makes serious losses in the first financial quarter and remain loss-making at half year. Only the peak summer season quarter actually makes money. However, people and businesses expect wide transport and trade links to be available all year round. This is mirrored to various degrees in other industries such as airlines. The duty-free support can help maintain more expansive route networks which clearly benefits people and business and regional economies. The advantages of restoration of EU-UK duty-free are far too many and detailed for me to articulate in 3 minutes, but they are comprehensive and ultimately of benefit to GMB members. This is a serious motion. We wish you to vote on this basis. But surely we're not going to have
Move your
headlines.
motion, Stephen.
Seriously, we need your support. I move.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mover of 273.
Congress, Vice President. Richard Pole, London Region, to move motion 273, opposition to the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. Comrades, we live in extremely uncertain times, and I do not think that any of us here can in all honesty state and predict that they know and can see into the future post-Brexit and with the appalling trumpeter currently in the White House. One thing I'm certain about is that we were correct in opposing TTIP, and we should certainly oppose CETA and any other trade deal that threatens our rights and our public services. Like TTIP, CETA poses many, many threats. A few examples. In health, the market for medical care could be opened up, increasing privatisation in the NHS. An alliance of big pharmaceutical companies could demand intellectual property rights for medicines, raising prices for necessary drugs astronomically through the roof. Farming standards would be lowered, with health risks from hormone-treated animals providing more junk food. Restrictions on pesticides and herbicides use would damage the environment, a true Frankenstein nightmare, all for the greater profits for the few. CETA will give vast new powers to corporations, including big, large US conglomerates and Trump's hotel businesses. What it significantly fails to do is address trade union concerns about the enforceability of labour rights. This is why already many union general secretaries have campaigned against this, and the TUC have pledged to seek more meaningful involvement in consideration about the implications of CETA. I believe we need much more than this, and should actively campaign against this tooth and nail to avoid this scenario. We need red lines for any trade deal, to include strengthening of labour standards, to include strengthening health and safety provisions and environmental protections. Please support this so GMB has a very clear position. No worsening of our employment rights. I move.
Colleagues, the CEC has supported all four of these motions, so I'll now put them to the vote. Motion 253, 264, 265 and 273. All those in favour, please show. Any against? They've carried. Could I now ask for motion 210, Northern, Composite 18, Yorkshire to move and London to second to come down to the front, please, and the mover of 210 to the rostrum.
President, Congress, Suzanne Foster, Northern Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Moving motion 210, free movement of labour. Congress, as the motion says, we feel that free movement of labour has been used in a capitalist country like ours to drive down terms and conditions. We do not seek to blame workers from abroad who come here to work and live, nor their families. It is a simple truth that employers, organisations such as the CBI or the Institute of Directors have never put their head up and talked about free movement. The reason is simple, Congress. It is because bosses have been happy with the status quo as long as they could live off the fat of the land, while workers receive wages below the industry rate for the job, or in many cases what was enough to live on. That approach from bosses does not discriminate about where you come from. It is just the boss's approach to running things. They want a low-wage, low-tax haven economy off the shores of Europe. We have many examples of bad employers who have subcontracted work and in the process undercutting the rate for the job. We have a very real example in one of our key former shipyards, where the mistreatment and poaching of local labour is only matched by paying below the minimum wage in euros to workers from Europe. Where workers are sacked by text, where sackings are handed out by British managers, and where it is open to the abuse and scandal of blacklisting and all the unsavoury practices of workers waiting in line until the boss picks out the face that fits. That is the reality, Congress, of some of our workplaces. We need to call out what a Tory future beyond Europe is, and their actions, not words, will count. We applaud the Labour Party's approach and hope that the day of reckoning for bad bosses is just a few weeks and months away. I move.
Mover of Composite 18, Yorkshire.
Henry Rudge, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire region. Moving Composite 18. We fight in the interests of workers. It's in the best interests of workers to be united. Our enemies know this. That's why the Daily Mail, the Sun, etc. are always trying to divide us by scapegoating migrants. We in the GMB stand up to racism. People should have every right to move across the world. But while it's perfectly natural for capital, financial investments, businesses to move around the world to obtain a better reward, for workers to follow that investment and look for work is not okay. Yet we know that immigration is a good thing and benefits a nation. The NHS, for instance, would collapse without immigration, as would a lot of the food industry. Even Brexit Secretary David Davis has said it will take years and years to do without EU migrants. But while it is true that EU citizens can move around Europe relatively easily, for people born outside the walls of Fortress Europe, it's a different matter. As we saw with the Syrian refugee crisis, for example, Britain at first promised to allow 3,000 child refugees in from Calais, even though there's 100,000 children desperately looking for safety in Europe, but have only let 350 actually enter Britain. Quite disgraceful. However, Germany, which has a declining population, so to meet the needs of German capitalism, hundreds of thousands have been allowed from Syria and other countries into Germany. So, regarding the free movement of capital, we fight to defend members' jobs and to keep work in this country. But at the same time, we need to recognise that capitalism is a mode of production based on profit, not people's needs, and that capitalists will always look to maximise their profits. Now, on alternatives to the free movement of capital, one of Corbyn's policies, which he has got many good, excellent policies, but one has reopened the possibility of nationalisation as an alternative to providing services. And if a company like Nestlé, for instance, threatens to move production, we would call for that work to be nationalised. Chocolate biscuits would taste just as good, or maybe better, produced by workers employed by the government rather than Nestlé. The way to tackle issues on insecure work, undercutting of wages and exploitation is the same as it ever was, through strong, well-organised trade unions like ours.
Second to London.
President Congress, Vivian Thomas, London Region, seconding Composite 18. Free movement of capital is indicative of the accommodating and indulgent attitude society has towards money, as in tax havens, financial loopholes, banking and corporations, as opposed to the punitive and harsh attitude society has towards people, so well demonstrated in the moving film I, Daniel. The global economy has facilitated multinationals moving their businesses abroad, resulting in workers suffering poor paying conditions and lack of health and safety regulations to maximise company profits. In money versus people, all too often, it's money that's the winner. Movement of capital should not be at the expense of people. I second.
Can I now call on Andy Newham, CEC for Southern, to give the CEC position?
Congress, Andy Newman speaking on behalf of the CEC, responding to motions 210 and Composite 18, and thank you to all delegates for a fantastic debate on Brexit. The CEC are supporting motion 210 and Composite 18 with the following qualifications. Although Suzanne, in her speech, very much emphasised the unscrupulous bosses, the motion as it's on your order paper focuses on, or seems to blame the influx of Labour for growing inequality and driving down wages, but the motion as written doesn't emphasise the roles of unscrupulous bosses of exploiting people. Now, GMB will never criticise someone for lawfully moving to get a better job to improve their life and the life of their family. But what we will blame is unscrupulous bosses that use migration to cut wages, worsen terms and conditions, weaken collective organisation. So free movement of labour was a key issue in the EU referendum, and what we do need to understand is that there will still be immigration afterwards. The UK government will be negotiating that, and we need to make sure that those bosses who still want to use bring in people from low-wage economies to undercut our wages and conditions, that we will continue to oppose that, and we will need that to be addressed in any future trade deals. With regard to Composite 18, it is true that the referendum debate focused more on free movement of capital than the movement, more on the free movement of labour than on the movement of capital, yet both had an impact on GMB members, positive and negative. Though free movement of workers between the UK and EU may cease post-Brexit, the government will include provisions for movement of workers and capital in future UK trade deals with the EU and the rest of the world. The qualification is that the GMB's role is to ensure that any future movement of capital and labour is based on the benefit of the many, not for the few, and removes exploitation, undercutting and inequality. Therefore, Congress, please support motions 210 and Composite 18 with the qualifications I've set out. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Does Northern accept the qualification on motion 210? Thank you. And London and Southern accept the qualification on Composite 18? I'll put these now to the vote. 210 and Composite 18. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? They've carried. Can I have now 241 on immigration from North West down to the rostrum, please?
Congress. President. Margaret Dockery, North West and Irish Region. Motion 41, immigration. Congress. The right-wing media in this country has a disgraceful history of speaking racist propaganda, created fear, hatred, diversity within our society. Daily Mail articles from 1938 titled Germany, Jewish Power into this Country told readers that jobless Jewish migrants would compete with unemployment British citizens for jobs. Jobs which were scarce as the result of the Great Depression. Immigration was either deemed as bogus. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit nervous now. Asylum seekers who had immediate needs to leave their country, or economic migrants come to Britain to reap the benefits of our economy. Sounds familiar? It takes the Crystal Night attack of November 1938 before the British article to their reference change. Move forward 80 years of the exact same situation regarding migrants. Impaired again in the same media outlet, speaking lies, fear, and hatred. We call on the CEC and the GMB to work with the TUC to help create multi-union approach to the country. The propaganda began peddling by the right-wing media and the pro to the position, contributing immigrants to our public society and commit our economy. Congress, I move. Thank you.
Colleague, what you doing? What you doing? No, there's no seconded when it's supported. COC report number 1. Sorry? SOC report number 1. When it's not being supported, we don't take seconders. Hang on, just a minute. Would you let him go? Yeah. Right, get on.
Right. Congress, President, Sean Aspinall, first time Speaker, first time Delegate. Northwestern Irish. I would just like to say, regarding the continuous small-minded, negative, right-wing media attacks that have been going on towards immigration, these unfortunate members of society that feel it's necessary to spread hate and blame on foreign labour and immigrants for the state of the British economy, i.e. health, housing and employment. These people and organisations need to have a word with themselves, give their heads a wobble. Right? Unfortunately, these people refuse or ignore the fact past and present politicians and governments have failed and let the British people down on health, employment and housing. Yes, there are certain issues that need addressing on immigration, but it's also a fact that foreign workforce and students have contributed billions of pounds over the years and are important for our economy. Hate and passing the buck tactics must end. Congress, please support. I move. Peace. Thank you.
Colleagues, the CEC are supporting this motion. All those in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. I'll now pass you back to Mary.
Thank you. Malcolm and I are playing tennis this morning, bat and ball. I've got a couple of announcements to make, and then I will move to item 6, Union Organisation, Composite 4, BMAE and Migrant Workers Post, Brexit, incorporating the Composite 78, 79 and 80, London to move, and Birmingham to second. Colleagues, Paul McCarthy is donated £500 extra for guide dogs to the blind. Oh, Midland and East Coast 500. Any more? What? Southwestern? Birmingham? Southern? Did you wait for me to start? Anyone else? Don't worry, Paul. We'll get a few more. Maybe the the general sec have just demoted him. Will make a contribution.
He's behind you.
So we will make a note of that. Can I now move to the next? Thanks, Paul, for starting that off. The disabled workers would like to thank all GMB delegates for their support. We have raised £896.20. This will help keep disabled people in employment. The raffle prices are on stall 10, full list at the stall. Will the executive double it? I think so. I think they're worth it. Sorry, is that okay, Tim?
I wish you weren't also bloody generous. Yeah, that's a deal.
And that's with thanks, Phil Davis. Wonderful, wonderful individual. Can I now move and call London region to move and Birmingham to second, please? And anyone else who wishes to come in and debate, come down now or forever hold your peace.
Tarrant-China, London Region, moving Composite 4, organising BAME and migrant workers. President, Congress, as our Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, stated in the leaders' debate on Friday, as long as we have racism which goes unchallenged, we will have division in society. As a black worker who came to the UK as a refugee with only the clothes on our back, not speaking any English, we know the importance of self-organising against a backdrop of structural and institutionalised racism. Our needs are specific. Needs be an issue of language, dress or food, both in the workplace and in society generally. The iconic J. Ben Desai, who won the moral victory during the Gromwick dispute, exemplifies how black migrant women workers organise against the backdrop of structural and institutionalised racism and sexism, fighting for better pay, better conditions against unscrupulous employers and the establishment. Black workers fighting for the rights of all workers. The struggles of black workers have been won through collective organising and solidarity, often with the trade union movement being at the forefront. As Trade Unionist Congress, we owe it to the BME migrant workers to protect them from exploitation and discrimination. In my workplace, which is a specialist service for black, majority ethnic refugee women, a few days after the Brexit vote, we were harassed by the white community, knocking on our doors, threatening us, telling us how dare we call ourselves a service for black women, even though we'd been around for 30 years, a service that saves lives. In the same week, a colleague had a hijab ripped off her head as she walked to work. Being sniggered at work because your first language is not English, being exploited through zero-hour contracts because employers and the establishment think you know no better. These are the daily realities of BAME and migrant workers. Congress, united we stand, divided we fall. Please support this motion. I move.
Thank you, Taranji. Birmingham.
President, Congress, Ian Paul, Birmingham and West Midlands, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Seconded on compensate for migrant workers post-Brexit. Congress, as you're aware, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union on the 23rd of June last year, and as a result, when Article 50 was activated, the fate of 3 million European nationals living in the UK was put in the balance. Migrant workers make a net contribution to the British economy. They are valued members of our communities and of our society as a whole. Some are the backbone of our public services. Some are our brothers and sisters in the GMB and other unions. Many have made Britain their home. And I'm privileged to say some are my friends. On the 6th of July last year, a motion in the House of Commons calling on the government to guarantee the rights of EU nationals living in the UK was passed by 245 votes to 2. However, this was not binding on the government. Congress calls upon the incoming government to honour this motion and to recognise that migrants are all human beings and deserve to be treated with dignity and given the unreserved right to remain here if they wish and not be treated as a bargaining chip in the upcoming Brexit negotiations. Congress, I second this motion. Thank you.
Well done. Well done, Ian. Okay. Does anyone wish to speak against? No? Can I now move and call 244? Yorkshire. I'm banning this region next year. Yorkshire region. Yorkshire region to move. And to second, I'm assuming. All right. I didn't think I'd get away with that one.
Yusra Hussain, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire region. Moving motion 244, humanity and racism. President, Congress and visitors. Firstly, I would like to pay my respects and condolences
to the families who have lost their loved ones or were critically injured in the recent London and Manchester attacks. Fear is spreading in the media and political platforms due to the irresponsible reporting and irresponsible campaigns such as the Brexit and across the Atlantic, the Trump campaign, which has unleashed a Pandora's box of widespread racism. But my personal belief is that we all have something in common, and that is humanity. GMB recognises the importance of standing up to racism in modern-day Britain. I would like to begin with observing this event because it signifies the openness and tolerance of British people. Not only does it make Britain a great place to be, but it also makes me prouder to be British. I have one question for you all. What legacy do we want to leave behind for our children and future generations? Given the rise in hate and indeed Islamophobia, MEND, as in Muslim Engagement and Development, will form with the purpose of tackling Islamophobia through education, research, advocacy and community development. MEND empowers the British communities to engage more effectively in media and politics. They hope to address disaffection and alienation among the British Muslims and the wider community, and inspire all members of the community to play a positive, full and active role as Britain's citizens. It is innovative in its approach, addressing divides and breaking down barriers and bringing communities together, irrespective of race, religion, ethnicity, orientation and class. Recently, MEND held an event in Harrogate International Centre in educating and creating awareness of Islamophobia and what the role of individuals and the wider community should be. The event raised community funds through one-off donations, standing order forms and bucket collections. It has also empowered people to engage constructively and peacefully with the media and political forums in order to achieve reduction in Islamophobia and thus social justice. In order to be effective, MEND have lobbied MPs and councillors cross-party in order to maximise effectiveness in reducing Islamophobia. MEND has existing partnerships with Show Racism Red Card and Stand Up to Racism. The motion is simple. Congress to allow the GMB to affiliate with MEND, as we believe it will be a stronger partnership in reducing Islamophobia and racism overall. We hope that you will support this motion. I move. Thank you.
Well done, Yezra. Well done. Seconder. Woo-woo.
Tess Calvert, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire region. Supporting motion 244, humanity and racism. President, Congress and visitors. According to Liar Liar, Theresa May, the three recent terror attacks were bound together by the single evil of Islamic extremism. A military intervention abroad would not be enough, demanding new laws, longer jail sentences, say we need to be far more robust in identifying and stamping out extremist ideology from society. Given recent events, Muslims in particular are targeted. In fact, a third of children believe that Muslims are taking over England, and a quarter believe that Islam, it just encourages terrorism. The prevent strategy in itself undermines the right of freedom of thought, and that's according to the Institute of Race Relations. So Theresa May says that terrorism just breeds terrorism, but it ignores the state terrorism carried out by Britain and the US that's torn apart Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya. Corbyn's right in saying there's a connection between the recent attacks and the wars that are supported in other countries. 53% support that view. Predictably, we're trying to scapegoat Muslims and point immigrants with negative rhetoric. MEND should be supported because it's an opportunity to build genuine unity from grassroots against discrimination, racism and Islamophobia. In these difficult times, we must stand together, stay united, reject terrorism, hatred and Islamophobia and racism and those that seek to divide us. I second that emotion and say we support MEND.
Thank you, Terence. Well done. Can I now move to Composite 20, fighting racism and hate crime? Scotland to move, Southern to second, Yorkshire priority in debate, and I will then call Colin Gunter from the CC to give the CC position.
President Congress, Pat Breslin, GMB Scotland, moving Composite 20. Fighting fascism and hate crime. Congress, the global refugee crisis, last year's European Union referendum and recent election campaigns in Europe have seen the rise of a sinister political development. It seems to have become acceptable to express and display extreme right-wing views. Fueled by irresponsible elements in the media, there is a tolerance towards those who encourage hatred towards anyone of a different race, gender or religious persuasion. A perfect example is the murder of Mohammed Salim, an 82-year-old man walking home from his mosque, stabbed in the back by a neo-Nazi in Birmingham. These crimes are rising. Another appalling development is that some leading figures in politics, like the trumped-up President of the United States, have been at the forefront of this. Did you ever imagine that the successor to the first black American president would be an ignorant, racist bigot? Here in the UK, some factions think that the unspeakable terrorist atrocities like the recent Manchester and London attacks on the innocents give them license to make statements or take actions that are both racist and bigoted. This poison is all too often excused as just free speech. Terrorism is terrorism, and as a union we condemn it without reservation. But in GMB, we don't and won't scapegoat or abuse Muslims, refugees or migrants because of the actions of some misguided murderers. Far-right factions are legitimised by innocent-sounding terms like alt-right. Let's be clear, Congress, there is no alt-right. When it comes to these views, there is just all wrong. Of course, the picture is not all bleak. Those trying to fuel division amongst hard-working people may be vociferous, but they are outnumbered. And those of us who condemn their agenda, who stand against their hatred and bigotry, have one huge advantage over them. We have organisations, vast collective groups of workers that oppose prejudice, that advocate justice, equality and fairness, and that embody the tolerance and respect. We have trade unions, the greatest force for good and equality in our society. And as trade unionists, we have affiliations to other campaigning organisations like Hope Not Hate, Unite Against Fascism and Show Racism the Red Card, that we can work together with to combat the resurgence of far-right politics. Congress, by our joint efforts with those organisations dedicated to fighting fascism and racism, we can turn the tide. We have the resources, we have the activists, and we have the motivation. Let's use these to spread the message that there is no future for a working class divided by right-wing dogma. Let's stand together and fight racism. Let's stand together and fight fascism. Let's stand together and fight the far-right agenda that has nothing to offer us, nothing to offer our children, and nothing to offer our grandchildren. Congress, please support this motion.
Well done. Well done.
Steve Oakes, Southern Region, supporting Composite 20, fighting fascism and hate crime. So we all know the power of social media. If you pop into Google and you pop in immigration, these are the first things that come up. The Express says, migrants rob young Britons of jobs. The Daily Mail says, migrants, how many more can we take? The Express says again, migrants take all new jobs in Britain. And the list goes on. Migrants are blamed for pressure on housing. Nigel Farage, by the way, blamed them for traffic jams on the M4. I'm not quite sure how that one works. They're blamed for putting pressure on the NHS. Let's make that clear. Migrants are the lifeblood of the NHS, and keep it going, Congress. Okay, so we've got all this. You've got Britain First, scumbags, okay? 1.8 million followers. Disgusting. What are we going to do about it? Well, what we do, and each and every one of us can make a difference here, right from GMB, up top, we start posting positive media stories about migrants. We drop that down to region. We drop that down to branch. We drop that down to individuals in this room. Every day, spread it. Fight it, We can make a difference, Congress. Fight back. I support.
Well done, Steve. Yorkshire Region. Yes, no? Formally? Oh, well, oh my God. Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? No? Thank you. Can I call Colin from the CC to give CEC's position?
President, Congress, Colin Gunter responding on behalf of the CEC on Composite 4, Motion 244 on Composite 20. I'll take them in the order of debate. Composite 4 on migrant workers. The CEC are supporting this composite with a statement which is that immigration was and is the central issue of the Brexit debate and is likely to remain so in the future as the UK negotiates withdrawal from the EU. However, we are still seeing bullying and targeting of migrant workers. We will continue to campaign on this issue and have developed a credit-size information leaflet on which action to take if a member is racially abused or is a witness. On Motion 244, the CEC recommends support with a qualification. The issue of racism, and in particular attacks on Muslims, is likely to be with us for the foreseeable future, and Islamophobia will be highlighted in our work on challenging race-hate crime. Our qualification is that the request to affiliate to men will need to be referred to the CEC Finance and General Purpose Committee to ensure they are in line with the aims and values of the GMB. Finally, on Composite 20, the CEC support the motion but would like Congress to refer it for consideration. We have seen Brexit and the election of Donald Trump as ushering us into an age of bigotry and intolerance, which is diametrically in opposition to the values of the GMB. Unfortunately, some of our members will be subjected to racist behaviour and will take all opportunity to oppose such behaviour and highlight the importance of decency and tolerance. We are asking Congress to refer the call for training in the composite to the training review to consider if this can be included in the activist training programmes. So, conference, to summarise, the CEC would like you to support our statement on Composite 4, agree to our qualification on Motion 244, and agree to refer Composite 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin. Can I now ask London and Birmingham, do you accept the statement on C4? Yes. Yes, thank you very much. Conference agree? Yes. Yorkshire, accept the qualification on motion 2. Formally? Thank you. Somebody had a sleepover. London and Southern, accept the qualification on C18? Yes. Yes, good. Thank you. Scotland, Southern and Yorkshire accept reference on Composite 20. Does Congress agree? Yes. Agree to reference. Thank you very much indeed. Does anyone disagree? No? Right. Can I now move to the vote on Composite 4, Motion 244? And all those in favour, please show. Anyone against? That's carried. Thank you all so much. Can I welcome on stage Jed Greeby, Chief Executive of Show Racism, the Red Card. Welcome. Welcome, Jed. And before I start on the next business, can I say to Northwestern Irish region, Midland region and my own region, I am sorry I couldn't attend your do last night, but Mary's eyes wouldn't make it. So please accept my most sincere apologies. Thank you. That's from me. Okay. Can we now move to the next item, show racism, the red card? Tim?
Thank you very much, Mary. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Can you lift it up a little bit, please? Thank you very much. No, I'll get you to lift that up again in a minute. Sadly, that debate we've just had was very tragically timely. It was in the aftermath of the London Bridge attacks and on the back of and behind the Manchester and then the Westminster attacks before that. And what we're likely to see as a result of that, colleagues, is a further increase in attacks on Muslim people. Muslim people who denounce these violent acts as much as we all do. Muslim people who around the world unite in their solidarity for people who have lost their lives, lost their loved ones, who lay maimed and injured in hospital. Muslims around the world reject this same extremism that ISIS pursue in a hopeless pursuit of what they think is their right. So, Congress, we need to educate our people and we need to understand how we stand together in these attacks. What we will never, ever stand by and watch is our own people, whatever your race, colour, creed or gender or ethnicity, to be attacked. Often Muslim women attacked in the streets by our own people in front of their kids who are frightened for their very lives. This cannot continue, Congress. So the work that organisations like Show Racism, the Red Card do knows no bounds. And I'm so proud that your union, the GMB, nationally affiliates to Show Racism. Because the work of Show Racism, the Red Card, educates people in a way that I can't think there is better, mainly through sport and often through football. And you know, when I stand on terraces, as I've done for many years, and certainly when I used to stand on the terraces back in the day when it was acceptable to hurl racist abuse at players, I often think to these days when people say, you know, they're over here taking our jobs. When you get people like Alexis Sanchez or Mesut Ozil, they don't say he's over here taking our corners, do you? So it's right that we use the medium of football and sport to educate our young people. Because we're all born the same, we all look the same. And the only way that we change is through people poisoning other people's minds and views and beliefs. And Conference, I know as a union we stand strong and together in pursuit against injustice and unfairness, no matter what your race and creed. So, first of all, if you're able, please stand up and hold up your Show Racism poster. And particularly, on Friday the 20th of October, please wear red to show that we stand against everything that is despicable and disgusting against racism.
Thank you, Congress. Thank you, Tim. Where is he? I don't know where I'm going. Where am I going? Oh, dear, dear. I just asked where am I going. They said we want you to sit down. Oh dear. Oh, it's a sad life. Can I now announce, when I can see it, during my RMA report, can I announce the raffle made £896.80, as we are to are 2 days down. In our sales, is there anyone, anyway, please? Oh dear, this can be. I've just left that word out to help us in our fight for RMA pensioners' issues. Thank you, Jan. I think so, Jan. We will double it, and you do a lot of good work, all of you. Thank you. What was that? Can I now move to social policy on justice? 283, 284, 285 and 287. And Tim, thanks for a wonderful contribution on Give Racism the Red Card. Well done. Anyone seen Alan Wiley this morning? Alan? He's probably going to have 50 fits. Can I ask North Western Irish region? Thank you very much. The CEC are supporting it. 284, Justice for the Innocent, Yorkshire region. Will the mover please come?
Yeah, there we go. President Congress, Amanda Burley, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire. Moving motion 284, Justice for the Innocent. This Congress believes victims of crime deserve support and justice. We also believe those accused but not convicted of crimes should also receive support and justice, as they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. It is a principle of UK law. Those accused and detained often find themselves in a difficult situation getting back into the workplace due to the way their previous employment ended. If we look at the likes of the Shrewsbury 24, many of you here will remember Ricky Tomlinson addressed Congress at Nottingham in 2014 and how this affected himself and 23 other families who were left behind to find the monies for their housing and food, and how this had a knock-on effect, which we all know as blacklisting with this union. This union fought so hard against and won. There are many everyday families, some of which will be our members, too embarrassed by the situation they find themselves in to come forward and ask for our help. So we never hear of their suffering or loss of income, especially when the breadwinner's employer's citation is to state they have frustrated their contract, the legal term for dismissal. This is the legal term. A contract may be frustrated where there exists a change in circumstances after the contract was made, which is not fault of either party. This renders the contract impossible to perform or deprives the contract of its commercial purpose. This is important as a person is innocent until proven guilty. Is it not their fault? They could be in a situation not of their making. This needs to be looked at by a change of legislation. This can lead to insecurity for many months, especially when their employer frustrates their contract. This leads families to cope on universal credit, which we know in this current system can take up to 6 weeks to come to fruition. This is also set to rise when universal credit goes live across the board later this year. Thank you, Ian Duncan-Smith and the Tory party. After months of being detained, a case can fail due to many reasons, while the family have been suffering on universal credit, food banks and at the hand of the press. This Congress believes a degree of employment and income protection for those accused awaiting trial, so they and their families do not suffer financial hardship and are made to return to normality after the trial. Justice not only has to be done, but to be seen to be done for the innocent as well as the guilty. Congress, please support this motion. I move.
Well done. Well done, Amanda. Seconder. Oh, thank you. 285, sorry, London.
Good morning, President, Congress. I'm Anne Jones from London Region, moving motion 285, and I'm a first-time speaker. What is IPP? It's an indeterminate sentence that was introduced in 2005, designed to protect the public from serious offenders, but the courts handed this sentence out to all offenders, regardless of the length of their sentence. Prisoners were given a tariff, a period of time which they must serve, but no release date. In 2008, a threshold of seriousness was introduced, which restricted IPPs to serious offences that carried a tariff of more than 2 years. But this was not retrospective. Those already in prison stayed there. An example of this injustice is the case of a young man who was given a sentence of 2.5 years for the theft of a mobile phone and remained in prison 8 years later and still must complete 2 courses of the 35 ordered by the legal system before he is considered for parole. He said, "I've been given an IPP and spent 8 years in prison, but there are murderers and paedophiles walking out." This young man was placed on suicide watch, which appears to be a common trait amongst IPP prisoners because of the uncertainty of a release date. Although the IPP sentence has been defunct since 2012, many of these prisoners remain behind bars long after their tariff. More than 3,000 inmates, some with mental health problems and learning difficulties, are routinely denied release from prison by parole boards because they have not completed the mandatory courses due to the prison system's lack of resources. Prisoners who are released on licence will be monitored for a further 10 years, and any indication that they are involved in any criminal activity could mean that they are recalled to serve this time in jail. All this for stealing a mobile phone. I want to make it clear that we're not condoning criminal activity, but when a law such as this has been passed without thought for the impact on services, families, or indeed the individual, it is only right to raise awareness and fight for the lives of these prisoners. A High Court judge describes them as the disappeared. This is a crime against humanity. We are talking about people who have paid for their crime, who have finished their sentence and want to return home to build their lives back up again. There is equality in the government's actions. Sorry. Where is the equality in the government's actions? They are aware that IPP's sentence is not fit for purpose and still have not addressed the issue of those still being punished under the IPP law. As quoted by one minister, it is quite absurd that there are people who might be there for the rest of their lives in theory, who are serving a sentence which Parliament agreed to get rid of because it hadn't worked as anyone intended. Releasing those prisoners who have already served far too long is one of those rare policy objectives. It is the right thing to do to save money, and it is the right thing to do for the sake of justice and humanity. I move.
Thank you, Anne. Seconder. Formally, thank you. Mover 287, Wales and South Western.
Holly Ferguson, Wales and South West Region, moving motion 287. President, Congress. The law is failing to adequately protect animals and ensure that punishment administered to those responsible for acts of cruelty fits the crime. Under the current Animal Welfare Act, the term of imprisonment for even the most awful crimes does not exceed 51 weeks. People are literally getting away with murder. There needs to be a review of the Animal Welfare Act, increasing the powers of local authorities to protect animals and to ensure the maximum sentence, to increase the maximum sentence these crimes hold. At a minimum, animal cruelty should hold punishments similar to grievous bodily harm. Unfortunately, animal cruelty is becoming more and more prevalent today. Dogfighting, a common practice in some places, is considered a crime in most countries. However, the punishment does not fit the crime. As a result of the current legislation not acting as enough of a deterrent, some people will continue to neglect and abuse animals. A point I would like to make is that the law states that the maximum sentence for animal cruelty is 12 months, yet the maximum sentence for theft is 7 years. This is not right. The Animal Welfare Act is way too lenient for any offender to even think twice about committing this heinous crime. If the law was tougher, it would hopefully start to put a stop to these vile acts. All animals, be it human, cat, dog or rabbit, have a right to live a life free from suffering, and that right should be respected and most of all defended. Congress, I move.
President, Congress, my name's Darryl Reid, Wales, South West Region, first time speaker.
Well done, Dad.
Congress, according to the Animal Welfare Act 22006, anyone committing one of the standard offences may be banned from owning animals. It states may be, because it suggests that even one of these offences were to be committed. It is possible for the offender can own animals again in the future and therefore be given the opportunity to recommit one of these offences, which to me is ludicrous. Another possible punishment is a fine up to £20,000 or a prison sentence. Now I know from keeping up with the cases through the media over the years, it is rare that the offender will be given such a high penalty, and some goes for prison sentence also. In fact, the longest sentence given to an offender for animal cruelty is 12 months, which is the maximum sentence a judge can give for a crime of this sort. But bear in mind that criminals may be released after half of the sentence it has been served. This particular offence was, and I quote, the most horrific case for an animal cruelty trading standards officers in North Hampshire have ever dealt with. More than often than not, an offender will be given a suspended sentence. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against? No? Thank you very much. Can I now call Mary Hutchison to give the CEC position on the agenda? Mary?
President, Congress, Mary Hutchinson, Northern Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC. Congress, the CEC asks you to refer motion 284 and support motions 285 and 287 with a qualification in each case. Dealing first with motion 284, the CEC supports the objective of the motion in respect of its general aim for a humane criminal justice process and for the reversal of the court's closure programme. However, some of the requests put forward are very specialised areas of criminal and social policy that are more appropriate for experts and may not be practical or realistic for the Union to achieve. For this reason, the CEC is recommending that the motion be referred so that we can obtain more information before adopting policy. Dealing with motion 285, the criminal sentencing policy of intermediate sentences could only have worked if the prison and probation services had been properly funded in order to allow for fair and effective assessment. Prison overcrowding and a lack of resources have had a significant impact. The CEC supports the motion in this respect. The qualification is that the underlying policy and the call for a retrospective retraction for every prisoner on an indeterminate sentence or complex and sensitive matters of criminal sentencing policy that are outside of the Union's normal area of expertise. The CEC supports a demand for proper resources, but the Union would not be in a position to support the very specific matters raised in the motion, which are more appropriate for experts to consider. Finally, dealing with motion 287, animal cruelty is a relatively new policy area for the Union, and the qualification here is that the Union may need to work with a number of animal rights organisations. The CEC notes that the private members' bill by Labour MP for Redcar, Anne Turley, called for increased penalties. The bill was scheduled to be debated in February this year, but earlier bills in the parliamentary session were talked out and there was no time for the bill to be heard. The CEC, therefore, are asking you to refer motion 284 and support motions 285 and 287 with the qualifications outlined. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Can I ask Yorkshire Region, do you accept reference on 284? Thank you. London, accept qualification on 285. Thank you. Wales, accept qualification on 287. Yes? Oh, thank you. Can I now move to the vote? All those in favour of 283, 285 and 287, please show. Anyone against? That's carried. And could I say 287 would be a tribute to John Toomey, whose lifelong work was to what's name with animals. I'd be still debating if he was there, love his heart. I wish I could. Can I now move to industrial economic policy, item 10, 215, abolition of the upper limit on national insurance contributions. Southern to move. Then 217, Panama Papers on offshore. Yeah, that's anonymity. Southern. 219, Yorkshire Region, inequalities on taxation of public service providers. 220, seasonal business rates for coastal areas, London. Okay, can I have all the seconders and those who can, the movers and all those, I think there's only, yeah, those who can second. So please come down.
Tad Garman, first time delegate, first time speaker. Moving the motion for the abolition of the upper limit of national insurance contributions. When I agreed to move this motion, I was quite ignorant to it. I thought national insurance contributions worked the same way as income tax, that the more you'd earn, the more you'd pay. So when I looked into it, I was quite shocked. When you earn over 8 grand, you have to pay 12% on your earnings, up to 43,000 a year. After that, you only have to pay 2% on every pound. So that means if you're earning 60 grand a year, you're actually only paying 7.9% of your earnings towards national insurance. If you earn 80 grand, you're only actually paying 6.4. If you're lucky enough to earn £1 million a year, you only pay 2.3 of your earnings towards national insurance. I'm still paying 12. You're still paying 12. Why? Why should somebody who's earning £1 million a year only be paying 2.3% towards their national insurance when you're paying 12? It makes me angry, and it should be making you angry too. So I ask each of you not only to vote in favour today, but to spread the word, tell your MP, and let them know we're not going to take it. And if the upper limit should be scrapped, let's take that money, let's give it to an organisation that's in desperate need of it. It's almost on its knees. Our once great institution, let's give it to the NHS and let's make it great again. Thank you very much. I support.
Thank you, Tad. Seconder? Oh, sorry, I'm going to suspend. I believe it's time. Tim?
Thank you very much. It is 11 o'clock, Congress, so for all those who are able, can you please stand so that we can observe the 1 minute silence that is taking place across the country today in memory of the victims of the London Bridge attack.
Colleagues, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Can I now have the seconder of 215, please? Formally? Oh, thank you. 217 to move, Panama. Southern Region.
Nikki Dancy, Southern Region, moving motion 217. The Panama Papers were the biggest, most unprecedented leak of 11.5 million files from the database of the world's fourth biggest offshore law firm, Mossack Fonseca. They showed the world the myriad of ways that the rich and the powerful can and do exploit secretive offshore tax regimes. There were 12 national leaders amongst the 143 politicians, their families and close associates that were outed from this. Putin was one of them. Nothing's happened to him. UK firms also exploited the rules, but not one company has been charged with wrongdoing since this. Their defence is that they technically did nothing illegal. To give you one famous example, an offshore investment fund run by David Cameron's dad avoided ever having to pay tax in Britain. Now, that fund has been registered with the tax office, with customs, since its inception. It's filed detailed tax returns every year, but not a single penny of tax paid to us, the British people. How does it get away with it? It's not only the complex loopholes that they can exploit with this, but of course it's because the Tories, the rich, the powerful, the media moguls, the capitalist elites, they don't give a toss about this. It's their interests and their money that these loopholes are protecting. We're never going to get them to regulate themselves willingly. So we need to push this as a union, as a labour movement, and we need to make sure that our policies against tax havens are accurate and up to date since the Panama Papers. And this motion also calls on us to lobby what I really hope is the Labour government after Thursday to clamp down on these millionaire and billionaire parasites. Fundamentally, Congress, if you're poor, if you're working class and you go out and you steal, you get caught, you're likely to get banged up. I don't want to see the working class locked up, but I'll tell you what, seeing David Cameron's dad behind bars, that'll be quite a pretty picture. I move.
Well done, Nikki. Southern Region.
President, Congress, Saeed Raza, GMB Southern, seconding motion 217. The most important thing about Panama Papers are their relevance since the crash of 2008. While the bankers were bailed out by us, they carried on getting huge bonuses, and the gap between rich and poor has grown enormously. Most of us have been suffering at the sharp end of austerity, and that is no accident. The new liberal agenda, it sits behind the entire concept of austerity and is backed by the rich getting away with the type of tax avoidance and the Panama paper made clear. The total tax gap between what's owed and collected has been estimated by Richard Murphy of Tax Research UK at 120 billion per year. The entire UK deficit is only 69 billion. The Revenue and Customs own last guess of 35 billion has been widely recognized as a serious underestimate. But even allowing for the fact that it would never be possible to close the entire gap, those figures give a sense of what resources could be mobilized with the determined crackdown. Set them, for instance, against the 83 billion in cuts planned for the Parliament, including 18 billion in welfare, or the 1.2 billion estimated on an annual benefit fraud bill. And you get a sense of what's at stake. We need to push government to act, this keeping up the pressure to get back some of what the super rich owe rest of us. Please support. I second. Thank you.
Well done. Yorkshire Region to move 219. You dare.
Ben Kane, Yorkshire and North Derbyshire. Moving motion 219, inequality in taxation of public service providers. President, Congress. This motion calls on Congress to take action against the continuing privatisation of parts of the NHS in the guise of saving money. Not only is it being hived off to the private sector, it is being done so without public consultation and without proper procurement. Not only is the NHS being broken up, these newly privatised providers are benefiting from the inequalities in tax legislation. Loopholes in this legislation mean that private companies benefit from favourable tax conditions the NHS does not, particularly corporation tax and VAT. Now, I'm not an expert on tax, but official Labour figures quoted that from 2010, the corporation tax rate on company profits has dropped from 28% to 19% and is expected to come down to 17% by 2020. Official figures show that between 2016 and 2022, this reduction would amount to £64 billion less in the public pocket, which is badly needed by our public services. It raises the question as to why one of our country's most treasured public services in a financial crisis without enough beds, where their staff have had their pay cap for many years, is treated so less favourably to the money-making companies. I ask you to support this motion, lobby your MPs, campaign for change and continue to support our valued members in this institution. The system needs to change. Let's save our NHS. I move.
Thank you, Yorkshire. You're getting it formally because we're supporting it. 220, London. Anyway, thanks, Yorkshire. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Mary. President, Congress. Gary Harris, London Region, moving motion 220 on seasonal business rates for coastal areas. Congress. Over many years, successive governments have presented themselves as government for the small business. The fact is that this may be the case for many inner city areas, but those small businesses in either rural areas or coastal towns have seen very little support from any government regarding business rates. Many inner city businesses rely on trading all year round and collect the income as a result. However, those in coastal tourist towns that rely on tourism and our lovely British weather, mainly making a living during 6 months of the holiday season, if they are lucky, and without much in way of business rate relief. Congress. The recent increase in business rates has made it far more difficult to keep the business going in coastal towns. In fact, it's a major threat. Many have already closed. In some areas, business rates have increased from approximately £9,300 to £25,000 per year. Such an increase will force businesses to close. Colleagues, the impact of ever-increasing business rates on small businesses, especially in coastal towns, has driven local labour and families out of these areas, having a major impact on the local economy. There is already an increase in the lack of jobs, opportunities, and increase in high levels of unemployment. If you look at many of these coastal resorts, you will find the increase in pound shops, food banks, and gambling establishments. However, you will also find a growing interest in political organisations like UKIP, the far-right groups, and the exploitation of young voters. Congress, there is such a thing as rural rate relief and small business rate relief. However, this is based on businesses on trading 12 months of the year. This is not a level playing field. What is needed to save coastal town businesses is special rate relief that is based on the reduced rate system where discount is offered that takes into account consideration to reduce time available to trade in tourist coast towns, excluding out of the season time when businesses are closed. This will give some financial help to these coastal towns and give the help they need to survive. If we ignore the coast to small businesses, then we will see an increased destruction of coastal towns, which will allow building developers to move in, build luxury apartments and inner city dwellings for the rich and the famous and expensive local communities. Support this motion.
Please, Alan.
I move.
Thank you. Seconder. Hi there, Brendan.
Brendan Duffield, supporting motion 220, seasonal business rates for coastal areas. President, Congress. When my family were young, they used to love to visit the seaside every summer. The beaches was packed, the cafes and the pubs were even, and the arcades and the fun fairs were full of families enjoying themselves. Then I made the mistake of visiting again in the off-season. Stupid move, really. Who goes to a seaside town out of season? And that's the problem, because no one goes at all. I found a ghost town with many businesses shut. Our seaside towns move regular through boom and bust, but this doesn't happen over several years. It happens every year. In the summer, the towns thrive, but in the autumn, winter, and in the spring, the opposite happens, and that's in a good year. If the summer is late or wet, the boom period might never come. Small businesses on the coast desperately need our help. The business rates don't take the seasonality into account. You are charged as if your business is trading all year. What's more, the rates are going up in one town on Folkestone Coast on an average of 177. Visitors to the seaside have been part of our life for almost 200 years. To protect them, we need a special rate relief for coastal towns and take this into account seasonal nature of visits to the town. If we don't get it, then the business makes these holidays such a special part of our lives will vanish. It's not the only problem that these towns face, but it's the ones that we can hit back at first. Congress, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Brendan. Okay, London. Does anyone wish to speak against? No? Can I now call Dave Clements from the CEC Southern Region to give the CEC's view? Oh, there you are, Dave. I thought you were still sailing.
Morning. President, Congress. Dave Clements speaking on behalf of the CEC on motions 215, 217 and 220, which we are fully supporting but with qualifications. Motion 215 on national insurance contributions. This is in line with a similar proposal carried at Congress nearly 10 years ago, which called for all workers to pay the same percentage of national insurance. Our policy is for fair taxation, and we support making NI contributions fair and progressive. However, although the motion is well-meaning, the qualification is that we are unsure how the money could be used to just fund the NHS, as NI payments are currently ring-fenced to pay for the NHS as well as unemployment benefit, sickness and disability allowances, and the state pension. Motion 217 on the Panama Papers. The motion is in line with our current policy that offshore and tax havens cost the Treasury billions. We continue to call for their abolition, and we have supported campaigns to bring these tax havens under regulation. The qualification is that the motion condemns the Labour Party for failing to act, but the Tories are equally to blame and have done little in government to prevent these practices. Furthermore, the motion calls for criminal law to be used to tackle illegal tax havens, but this already happens. With these qualifications, we support the motion because it chimes with our policy of closing down UK-controlled tax havens and tightening the law generally on tax evasion schemes. Finally, on motion 220 on business rates. We support the motion, and at the time of the motion being submitted, the government were reforming business rates. Our only qualification is that until the next government is elected, we are not aware of any concessions that may be given to small businesses or regions, and we are therefore unsure as to whether any concession would address the income of small businesses. To recap, we are supporting 215, 217, 220, but with those qualifications I've outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Can I now ask Southern Region, do you accept the qualification on 215 and 217? Yep, thank you. Does London accept the qualification on 220? Yes, thank you very much. Can I now put it to the vote? 215, 217, 219 and 220. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? They're carried. Thank you. I now hand over to Malcolm for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mary. Can I call on motion 347 Southern, 348 London, 350 London and Composite 26, London to move and Yorkshire to second? And can the mover of 347 come to the rostrum, please?
Nana Jackson Ampao, Southern Region, moving motion 347, GTR Southern Rail franchise. President, Congress, for rail travelers on Southern Rail run by GTR, the operation of the franchise has been a disaster over the last year. There has been a complete breakdown of trust between the train operating company and our sister unions, ASLEF and RMT. A protracted industrial dispute over the operation of driver-only trains, which was contested by the unions due to health and safety concerns, has caused misery for travelers. Misery that was 100% the responsibility of GTR, the train operating company. The trade unions were acting responsibly to protect the safety of staff and the traveling public. This motion calls for Southern Rail to be brought back into public ownership and for Chris Grayling, the transport minister, to be sacked. Please support this motion and make both demands happen by voting in a Labour government on Thursday. I move.
Seconder. Formally, thank 348, mover, please.
Congress, Vice President Richard Pole, London Region, moving motion 348, London Underground staffing levels. Comrades, this motion refers to a decision we made in 2014 in respect of the draconian staffing cuts being implemented, which we rightly determined would have a huge detrimental effect on people travelling on London Underground. Thanks to the magnificent concerted industrial and strike action by members of the rail unions and the support shown by the public, many jobs were saved. However, many ticket offices remain closed. If you ever visit our splendid head office in Euston, then try to travel on the tubes afterwards, especially in peak times, you will often witness chaotic scenes at the stations as people, unfamiliar with the ticketing systems, queue for ages, only to find they are in a queue for a machine that cannot answer their questions that they have, will either not give change, only accepts the exact fare, or only takes credit cards. Therefore, guess what? They have to go and queue again, causing delays and congestion, and the staff on duty at the barriers being surrounded by people getting more and more irate. Congress, we need staff in ticket offices for the reasons detailed in our resolution of 3 years ago. Comrades, I was delighted that Sadiq Khan was elected Mayor of London, especially after the vile, racist and Islamophobic campaign waged against him. GMB and the rail unions rightly supported him and campaigned accordingly. Therefore, it is extremely disappointing that he has not agreed to reopen the ticket offices, particularly at prime locations, and more disappointing that he criticised the workers taking action to save jobs and improve rail services, and worse for him, to praise agency workers brought in as scabs to undermine the legitimate strike action being taken. This is not what I or we should expect from a Labour Mayor. Therefore, the resolution calls on GMB to remind him of our policy and that we want the jobs returned for a better, safer tube service for us all. And I urge support for this resolution. I move.
Seconder.
Kim Hendry, London Region, seconding motion 348. Congress, the underlying theme of many of the motions that we've heard at this year's Congress is austerity and the way that the cuts to our public services and to our infrastructure are making our lives worse on a daily basis. As a Londoner, I can testify to the chaos and the difficulties that Dick has described caused by the office closures. There are major safety and health and safety and equality issues around these closures, which the RMT and TSSA and ASLEF highlighted at the time. As a woman travelling late at night, if the ticket office is closed, you can feel very unsafe and uncomfortable. People with disabilities struggle to access public travel because of these ticket office closures, because they can't find somebody to go and assist them. It's also a false economy, because if tourism is one of London's biggest earners, then forcing bewildered tourists to queue for sometimes up to an hour or more just to travel around to see the sights is hardly conducive to a good image of London. Congress too many times, right-wing Labour politicians accept GMB money and support, as Sadiq Khan did in the election for mayor, but don't support our policies. This has to stop. Finally, after 20 years of Blairite and neoliberal policies, we've finally got a leadership which opposes austerity and is on the side of unions, workers and the poor. Let's send a reminder to the Labour Party and the mayor. Our support can no longer be taken for granted. Congress, I second this motion.
Mover 350, London.
Vice President, Congress, Kevin Roberts, London Region, moving motion 350, drivers CPC training. This motion calls upon the CEC to campaign and lobby the government to get this essential piece of training for professional drivers to be paid for and time allowed in normal working time. All other training is done like this, so why should this be any different? Please support this, I move.
Seconder. Formally. Thank you. Mover of Composite 26 London.
Steve Garlick, London Region. President, brothers and sisters. Picture this. You open a pizza restaurant and another opens nearby. Then another, then another, then another. Then pizza vans without any licensing authority or health and safety approval start to park around your restaurant. How would you feel? This is a daily occurrence for private hire and taxi drivers in towns and cities throughout the UK. The changes to a law that suited a minority who lobbied for the changes in legislation have caused mayhem throughout the United Kingdom. What this legislation does is to create a facility for drivers who are not licensed in one particular district to come without a buy or leave and take work from local drivers and leave local licensing officials with no facility to take drivers off the road or the vehicles that may be subpar. In effect, a driver, for example, can be licensed to London along with their vehicle and work as an example for Uber and drive wherever they wish in the country and in effect take work without adhering to local laws. The past has seen drivers sent by companies to pick up drivers in other districts where they have a booking, returning back to their home district upon completion. Now there is no reason for drivers to return. Some operators have created bogus offices, which if they open at all, are in serviced offices with no staff or real facilities. Drivers are taken on wholesale and are forced to seek work wherever they can, in some cases due to oversupply. Operators such as Uber show a total lack of social responsibility by taking on drivers wholesale. Just after Christmas, members in Southend alerted me to a major concern. Drivers had their licences revoked for criminal offences including transferring speeding points and in another individual's case a £32,000 plus housing benefit fraud, then went to London and re-licensed with Transport for London, allowing them to work with a London licence with Uber due to no national database showing revocation elsewhere. My rule is simple: support drivers. However, with the best will in the world, I cannot support criminality which damages the already fragile public perception of private hire and taxi. Unless properly considered laws and guidelines are instituted, we will consider not only to see an erosion of local work, but will see a degradation of safety for both driver and the public. Legislation is urgently required to change a law that suits operators but damages drivers and their families by those greedily seeking profits for themselves and their shareholders. I move.
Yorkshire to second. Thank you. And I call Brian for CEC South West to give the CEC response.
Vice President, Brian Farr speaking on behalf of the CEC. The CEC is supporting motion 347 and 348 with a qualification and asking Congress to refer motion 350. On motion 347, Congress recognised that Transport for London has managed to improve overground rail services within the confines of the system compared to the previous franchises. However, our qualification is that the GMB continue to support changes to the law so that all railways can be brought back into public ownership to deliver a more regular service and a fairer fare for ticketing passengers. On motion 348, we reaffirm our existing policy to support the retention of ticket officers and the protection of these jobs. We are aware that TSSA members voted to accept a deal reached with the Mayor of London and that some jobs were saved. However, there are still closures and more jobs are being lost. We acknowledge that we should not support a Labour mayoral candidate who is in favour of the closure of ticket offices. And our qualification is that it is an issue for TSSA and the transport unions, whose campaigns we will continue to support. Finally, on motion 350, we are asking Congress to refer this motion where the GMB is organising companies which employ LGV drivers. Companies pay their driver their CPC costs. It is possible this occurs where GMB is not organising, so we're asking for the motion to be referred to allow us to identify companies where the GMB has some presence in order to build a campaign for organising and resolving this matter. Therefore, Congress, please support motion 347 and 348 with the qualifications they have set out and agree to refer motion 350. Thank you, Congress.
Thank you, Brian. Does Southern accept the qualification on 347? London accept qualification on 348? And reference back on motion 350? Right, Drip.
Richard Pole, expressing right reply to motion 348. The CEC originally sought withdrawal of this motion on the grounds that the Transport Salaried Staffs Association had reached a deal with the Mayor of London. I was aware of that because I did actually work for the TSSA for 30 odd years and still a part-time member. I refer though to the terms of our resolution, which calls for the ticket offices to be reopened. And I would just like assurances that we will remind the Mayor of that, regardless of what the TSSA policy may be, just so that, because it's our policy, not another trade union's. On that basis, I'm very happy to accept the qualification. Thank you.
Thank you. And did the London agree for the reference back on motion 350? Yes? Congress agree, but reference back 350? I will now move to the vote. They're all being supported by the CEC. 347, 348 and Composite 6. All those in favour, please show. Any against? They've carried. Can I now call on motion 359 London, 275 Midland, 278 London, 279 London, 280 London, 281 Birmingham and 282 London to come to the front, please. And the mover of 359 to the rostrum.
President, Congress. Vaughan Thomas, London Region, moving motion 359, reducing inequalities and poverty without the support of my region. Yes, you might well. Congress. We are a 21st century union, and given this, it's to be expected we will need to adopt some new ways of working that some of us, brought up in the 20th century, might find difficult to take on or understand, me included. That said, some things don't change, and our strength is still based on our collective endeavours, and that remains as true today as it did 100 years ago. This motion seeks to build on the collective action of our members' individual spending power for the greater good of the Union, nationally. This motion supports motion 51 on welfare rights, which Congress has already carried, despite the CEC advising that this be withdrawn. This motion also provides a ways and means to fund GMB rep training, as outlined in the CEC special report. It doesn't stop there. It also supports Composite 2, funding for the future of trade union education, covering motions 53, 54, 55, also carried. The motion asks Congress to campaign for the DWP budget to be used to secure bulk discounts for low-income people. Congress, our members. The motion also asks that this discount be shared with the not-for-profit advice sector. Congress, that's us. The GMB's a not-for-profit organisation. We provide advice. Welfare rights advice and representation has to be paid for one way or another, while still keeping this free to our members. This motion provides a way of doing that. Congress, I move.
Thank you, Vaughan. Seconder.
Vivian Thomas, London Region, seconding motion 359. President Congress. This motion asks Congress to campaign for the Department of Work and Pensions budget to be used to secure bulk discounts for people on low incomes. When presented with a new idea, concept, proposal, sometimes it's easy to think that if it was any good, surely someone would already be doing it. However, we know that this is not always the case. Sometimes we just need the courage of our convictions to pursue new possibilities. Brothers and sisters, with your support together, we can look to the future and we can be the ones already doing it for the benefit of our members. I second.
Mover of 275, please. Midland.
Shane Allington, Midland East Coast Region. Moving to motion 275, abolishment of sucker lists. President, Congress and visitors. Colleagues, aren't we all sick of all those promotional flyers that are posted to our doors every day? Our big chance to be rich, to win a boat, or even to have a lifelong supply of bloody toilet roll. Well, these flyers are just a hook to get your details. If you're sucked into these promotions, fill in your details with the hope of winning, you've now been probably put on a suckers list. Suckers lists are a legal list of people who have entered a bogus competition or promotion. These people are then targeted by gangs of conmen who bombard our friends and family with more hooks, more chances to win big. Almost 200,000 people appear on 13 different sucker lists, and they was obtained by the National Trading Standards through raids on bogus companies. It is reported the majority of these people are of the older generation, with some victims having kitchen drawers and cupboards jammed with letters from fraudsters hoping to catch them out. The average victim is about 74, living alone, and they've lost over 1,200 quid. The National Trading Standards are responsible for the investigation of these frauds, but as we all know, these public services have been absolutely decimated over the years. This leaves an absolute perfect storm for an opportunity for the fraudsters to operate. This government has said it is committed to stamping out these appalling criminal scams that target the elderly or vulnerable, but I say when? When are they going to do it? This motion is asking for us, the GMB, to spearhead a national campaign against the compiling, the selling and the misuse of sucker lists, and to inform the public about them. We are about protecting our people. We are against injustice. We have to carry our values forward and help our most vulnerable. Please support this motion. I move.
Thank you, Shane. Mover of 278, London. Mover of 278, London.
Hello, Mary. President, Congress, Cathy Holland, London Region. Moving motion 278 without the support of my region. This is for my Shay, who's an avid supporter of animals. I am sorry to say that I'm not getting the support of my region, but I will carry on regardless, because I feel it's too important to let people know that for some unknown reason, the Bank of England are using beef products in making of the £5 notes. Although a colleague at pre-Congress said, they're changing it to palm oil, that's all right. Well, let me tell you, palm oil is destroying the habitat of thousands of animals, including orangutans. These species are under a threat of extinction. So why is a supposed forward-thinking West we are allowing this to happen? I move.
Thank you. Seconder.
Gordon Brunning, London Region, seconding motion 278, stop the use of beef products in the £5 note. Madam President, Congress. I speak in full support of this motion and my colleague, but without the support of my region. Money is important and vital to everybody on a daily basis, so why, in an all-inclusive, diverse society, did the Bank of England use beef products in the production of the £5 note? A thoughtless and senseless decision. This decision clearly had detrimental effects on those of our members whose beliefs or personal circumstances forbid or prohibit any association with beef products. Congress, urgent action was taken to further ensure the production of new £5 notes using beef products was stopped. I urge Congress to continue to set standards in all inclusivity by continuing to lobby government at the highest level to ensure the same senseless and needless mistakes are not repeated in the future. The Bank of England, after aggressive and positive political lobbying, are now moving to the use of palm oil in the production of the new banknotes, something which will clearly have far-reaching environmental consequences. However, that is a debate for another day. Please support the motion. I second.
Thank you, colleague. Mover of 279, London.
Back again without the support of my region. President Congress, Cathy Holland, London Region, moving motion 279. This is for Moshe again, who's an avid animal activist. Again, sorry to say my region is not supporting me in this fight to get fair treatment for the movement of farm animals in transit. Firstly, they are starved and refused drinking water for 24 hours before they're moved about. And guess why? Because they'll make a mess of the lorry that they're being transported. Well, maybe we should stop it. I know about this because my daughter Shay is a campaigner for animal rights, and I'm proud of her. As an animal-loving household, we are horrified at the treatment of these animals. Then they arrive at the slaughterhouse in a heightened state of anxiety and are going to be unpredictable. There's no reason to be cruel. Man is in control. Please find a way to treat them with dignity. Even at the slaughterhouse, they are subject to cruelty. I move.
Seconder.
Once again, Gordon Brunning, London Region, seconding motion 279, treatment of livestock. Again, I fully support my colleague, but without the support of the region. Congress, close your eyes. Picture yourself and the whole of your delegation on a single carriage, trapped on a packed, delayed Southern Rail early morning London-bound commuter train, without access to food, water or sanitation. Picture it. Okay? As the air recycles, the basic needs are not forthcoming, and you begin to experience the effects of heightened state of anxiety and stress, not for the normal 1 or 2 hour delay, but for 24 hours. If we were here debating the transportation of human beings, I would be quoting numerous breaches of the Human Rights Act, but we are not. We are debating the rights of animals, themselves considered sentient beings, yet afforded no more than the minimal rights and legislation concerning their transportation. As human beings, we have an ethical and moral responsibility to ensure the rights of all sentient beings, including as they are transported to slaughter. This motion is not about should we or should we not eat meat, but as human beings, how we treat all sentient beings. I call on Congress to utilise the appropriate expert legal advice and political lobbying where possible to finally ensure that all animals as sentient beings are shown and given the dignity and respect they fully deserve. Please support the motion. I second.
Mover of 280.
President, General Secretary, Congress, Heather Hamblin, London Region, moving motion 280, 5p carrier bags. Congress motion 215 at last year's Congress was referred back. From the research, it came to light we have GMB members who work within the industry producing these bags. It also showed that since introduction of the charges have resulted in closures resulting in job losses. Congress, the GMB is all for saving jobs. Therefore, colleagues, in the interest of our members, please support in getting these charges removed. I move.
Seconded. Formally, thank you. Mover of 281.
Madam President, Congress, Angela Gilran, Birmingham, West Midlands region, moving motion 281, cemetery spaces crisis. Now I know this is going to be a hard issue for some people to deal with, but we're running out of space in our cemeteries and we need new ways to look at how to dispose of remains. We would like all GMB members to consider the various ways to dispose of mortal remains as suggested in the motion as one of the options may appeal to, in turn, has quite a few suggestions about the disposal methods and the advice that promotes is a process to dispose of human remains by freeze-drying approximately 30% of the original weight, and this is then placed in biodegradable casts and needs to be interned to the top layer of soil only. This method has been pioneered by the Swedes, and so the disposal of dead bodies is quite possibly a European issue. America too has taken up different ways of disposals. The procedure involves heating the body, and when the process is completed, the ashes are handed back to the relatives. This process proceeds less carbon dioxide and pollinations that cemeteries is providing a visible alternative in the US and Canada. Recently, there was a National Dying Matters Awareness Week, and Redditch Crematorium in the West Midlands won a National Environmental Award by pumping the waste heat from the crematorium to heat the local swimming pools. This could be regarded as recycling. But there's also another way. We could become trees. Thank you. Congress, I move.
Mover of 282.
President, Congress, Elliot Downing, Birmingham, West Midlands. I second the motion 281 about the looming crisis in public cemeteries. As you may know, the public are not aware that there will be a looming crisis.
Hang on, colleague. You're seconding 281?
Yes.
We don't have seconders. We said that. Unless Congress agreed to let you do it, I've got to pull you up. You agree, Congress?
I'm nearly finished. Nobody likes their own mortality, but there needs to be more environmentally aware ways of disposing of bodies. Therefore, I would like you to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. Mover of 282, please. London.
President, Congress. John Wood, London Region, moving 282, garden waste collection charges. Congress, a large majority of councils are now charging for collection of garden waste. This is a tax of £70 and putting a strain on the elderly, the unemployed and the residents with large families. Of saying, do I feed my family or do I heat my house? Or do I pay? This obscene tax needs to go. This has always been picked up by the council as free, but again, it's another way of getting money from the poor. I call on Congress to push the government and the councils to abolish this this tax. Thank you. I move.
I'll now call upon Paul Maloney to give the CEC response. Paul.
President, Congress, Paul Maloney, Regional Secretary, Southern Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC. Was that a Yorkshire call? Shows you we've got them coming around to our way of thinking after 10 years. I will take speaking on behalf of the CEC on motions 359, 278, 279 and 280. And I will take those in order of debate. The CEC is asking for motion 359 to be withdrawn. And if we do not, we'll have to oppose it from the CEC. The initiative of community buying, when consumers group together to buy goods or services in bulk, is not a new idea, and already around 100 schemes of such exists in the UK. The wording on the motion is a little vague when it calls on the DWP budget to be used for such schemes. How much of that budget is the question. We already know how stretched the DWP budget and their staff are, so it would be impractical to add the extra burden on overworked staff. Whilst we appreciate that charitable organisations that provide services are struggling and could use any money, we are unsure as to how the practicalities of how any discount could be shared with them. Therefore, although it seems like a worthy idea, it would be difficult to implement in practice, and such collective purchasing schemes are already in place. So we ask the motion to be withdrawn. On motion 278 on the £5 notes, the CEC again is asking for this motion to be withdrawn, as it has in effect been overtaken by events. When the new polymer notes were introduced last year, there were protests and petitions mainly from vegans, vegetarians and religious groups calling on the Bank of England to stop using tallow, a rendered form of beef or mutton that is used in the production of these notes. The Bank of England did in fact take this on board and looked at potential solutions. And they announced that the notes would remain in circulation, as scrapping them would be too much of a benefit and too much of a cost, and anti-counterfeit measures would be bypassed by banning them. They have offered to meet with the Hindu Council over their concerns. Furthermore, they will hold off signing any contract for the £20 notes while they investigate the plant-based purchase. In fact, I can tell you that they have now come up with, the Bank of England now came up with a fat-free £20 note which will be introduced in 2020. And a company called Delarue, a 196-year-old company, has promised that they will provide a fat-free. Congress, the current notes only contain traces of tallow. And if we are concerned about tallow, then we would also need to address everyday products that we come into contact with, which contains more tallow, such as plastic bags, makeup, crayons, candle, and yes, bike tyres. On motion 279, the treatment of livestock. Again, the CEC is seeking withdrawal of this motion. In 2014, Congress agreed a similar motion promising a total ban on the movement of livestock in Europe. The motion is on a similar theme, and we note that both the Labour Party and the Conservatives have strict animal welfare policies. The government states that all EU member states should ensure that all animals are only sent to slaughterhouses that meets high welfare standards, and the Labour Party states that the humane treatment of animals should be a benchmark for civilised society. Finally, on motion 280, asking for the 5p charge on carrier bags to be withdrawn. Last year we debated this and the motion was referred. Since then, work has been carried out to identify how GMB members would be affected by this. And in fact, no GMB members has been affected UK-based, but there has been an effect through the importation of plastic bags. We're asking for this motion to be referred once again so that we can continue our research in mapping into this industry in order to protect our members whether the charge continues or not. Conference, we are asking for motion 359, 278 and 279 to be withdrawn. If not, the CEC is recommending opposition. And we're asking for 280 to be referred. Congress, I move.
Thank you, Paul. Does the mover of 359 wish to right to reply?
President, what's relevant to our members is their net disposable income, not purely the hourly rate. Congress, if you go out and buy a pair of shoes and then go out again with the rest of you to buy an identical pair of shoes, will you be paying the same rate? No, of course you won't. You'll get a discount. With that discount, split the difference, and it could be an income for the union and an increase in the net disposable income of our members. And as for the CEC to talk about the DWP being stretched, that sounds like a quote from the Daily Mail, quite frankly. The DWP underspend, that's the 16 billion pounds, that's 16 billion every year, in unclaimed tax credits and benefits. That's our members, some members in this room. We can do it, and for the CEC to say it's too difficult, and then to quote there are hundreds out there already, but they're not ours. They're not supporting our union. Support this motion, support our members.
Vaughan, while you're there, do you wish to withdraw that motion?
No.
Thank you. Does the mover of 278 wish the right to reply?
Yeah. We'll withdraw 278, but not 279.
Not 279, but 278. Thank you.
But not 279, because I know for a fact that's all a load of rubbish. You wouldn't transport your pets like they're transporting them. Even this week, I have evidence that they're transporting them in cruel conditions. So think about it, people.
While you're there, you withdraw it 278, are you, but not 279?
278 we withdrawn, but
Yeah.
not 279.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to the vote. We're asking you to oppose 359 and 279. All those in favour, please show. On 359 and 279. All those against, show. The CEC are asking you to oppose 359 and 279. All those in favour of those motions, please show. All those against those motions, please show. Oh, you want them separately? Apologise. Sorry for that. Right. We'll take 359 first then. All those in favour of 359, please show. All those against? That's fell. We'll now take the motion 279. All those in favour, please show. All those against? That's fell. Does London accept reference on 280? Does Congress agree that reference? Now, 275, 281 and 282 are being supported. All those in favour, please show. Any against? They're carried. That brings us to the end of the business today. I'll now hand you back to Mary to close the conference. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. And could I say, I'm extremely proud of all of you at your attendance this week in this hall, and also our visitors up there who have sat up there day in and day out. So thank you all so much. We are now commencing the closing procedures of Congress, which begins with the Omnibus vote of thanks this year to be given by Sheila Bearcroft from our host region. The vote of thanks, Sheila. She all right?
Congress. President. Sheila Bearcroft, Wales and South West Region, proud and privileged to be delivering this vote of thanks on behalf of the Central Executive Council, especially in one of my region's hometowns here in Plymouth. Firstly, to the banner party from the Yorkshire and North Derbyshire region. In opening Congress this week and symbolising the collective unity and strength of our union and our class, the working class. Then to my great friend, indeed everyone's friend here, our National President, the peerless Mary Turner. From the early days of her involvement with our union at Salisbury Road School in Brent, Mary has been the supreme champion of the underdog, fearlessly opposing all forms of discrimination and injustice. Mary's attributes are many and varied, but her charisma, wit, courage, and integrity serve to distinguish her from others. Her election to our executive and being the only woman to do so all those years ago has ensured the start of a process whereby the representation of women within the union is now being achieved on the basis of merit and not favour. Thus breaking down the barriers of vested interests that held so many able and talented females activists back for so many years. Mary, your health problems, coupled with the sad loss of your dear husband, Denny, have caused great difficulty over the past couple of years. But for your indomitable spirit has prevailed as we knew it would. And it's just so fantastic to have had you here with us this week. Mary, you really are the jewel in the GMB crown. You have your own style when discharging the role of National President and in chairing Congress, and have that rare ability to show that you care for everyone in the GMB. Mary, may you continue to represent all that is good and decent in our great union. We all love you. Thanks to Malcolm, Mary and the GMB's Vice President. In Mary's unavoidable absence, you have borne much of the responsibility for presiding over the internal business of the union, no better or more able deputy will anyone find in the entire British trade union movement, and that's for sure, Mal. He is calm, confident, accomplished, and compassionate, yet the man with the fastest finger on the red light button. Malcolm, you're an absolute top individual, and we thank you sincerely for everything you do and the way in which you do it. To our General Secretary, Tim Roach. Tim, you took over from Paul Kenny at the end of February last year, and since then have been confronted by what Hamlet once described as the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Not only have you had to step into the shoes of that giant of the trade union and labour movement that Paul was, but have also had to deal with little matters such as the European Union referendum, the Labour Party leadership, the Trade Union Act, and now the general election. At the same time, of course, as continuing to build the base of the GMB through a coherent and organising strategy. Tim, you have epitomised the true spirit and resolve of the founders of our union in showing fearless and decisive leadership and never shirking a fight with those who seek to exploit our members. At a time of desperate cuts to decaying public services, growing unemployment and poverty, a widening gap between rich and poor, denial of basic workers' rights, and a government attack upon the most vulnerable in society, you have ensured that we remain fit for purpose, challenging those who seek to destroy us and what we stand for, and creating the social change necessary to achieve justice, fairness, and dignity, both inside and outside of the workplace. Tim, you will maintain our core values and beliefs and make sure that our members will never be bullied or exploited. You're a man who puts his words into actions and have quickly earned the respect and admiration of so many members and activists. And for this, we thank you. Congress, thanks must go to the Standing Orders Committee. It's a tough enough job in any year, but this shortened Congress has made their role even more challenging and demanding. Well done to all of you. For the professionalism and expertise this week in steering all of us through a compact agenda. Many thanks too must go to the stewards from my region for their efforts in ensuring the safety and the security of all delegates, visitors and staff. A vital role performed with a smile, with courtesy and a willingness, as always, to help and advise. As ever, the sterling work of Steve Short and his team behind the scenes has been invaluable. It's been invaluable in facilitating the success of Congress, not just this year, but every year. Steve and Ida Climo work like Trojans throughout the year to plan and prepare for an event which is so logistically complex. Well done again. You're an absolute credit to the GMB. To another old friend, Kathleen Walker-Shaw. As Brexit dawns closer, let's never forget the incredible contribution she has made to the effective representation of members in the European context. GMB has been the most dominant and influential union in Europe, and much of that is down to what Kathleen has done. Thanks so much, Kathleen. You're an absolute star. Our thanks must also go to our excellent press and communications team. Their work this week has been top-notch, but also the level of coverage that we are now receiving and its timing and quality every day is at a new level. To Lisa Johnson and her team, thanks for the effort and expertise in promoting and publicising the GMB cause so ably and adeptly. And so to the delegates here this week, it's been your Congress and always will be. You are the bedrock of the GMB, and our agenda will only ever be that of yourselves and your members. It's you who represent what the GMB stands for, providing a distinctive voice and representation for working people. The democracy of our decision-making process will never be up for auction, so I hope that you will all return to your regions, branches and workplaces even more enthused and empowered than before, and prepared to invest in the heroisms of the past to allow our members to oppose unfairness and injustice. At least this year, you'll return 40% less tired than in previous years. I pay tribute also to the hard work of staff here in the pavilions for providing a first-class service since Sunday, and to the shorthand writers for recording every spoken word with such diligence and accuracy. Such an onerous job, but performed so admirably. Congress, I think it's time for me to conclude this vote of thanks, as I run the risk of making a speech even longer than my regional secretary is prone to do. And I'm not going to say sorry, John. Let's continue to build our union. No one else is ever going to do that for us. Irrespective of what happens on Thursday, we need to keep on investing in our union by bringing in new membership. Colleagues, have a safe journey home, and I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible next year in Brighton. Thank you. I move.
Sheila and the region, can I say very much thanks for your kind words and all the help the region has given me, and that you have taken your time to at times pick up the phone and ring me to see how I am. To this Congress, I thank you for your support. Your words make me feel so humble because this is a job I love to do, and I'm here because you've willed me and I've willed to get here. I'm going to close now before I start bubbling again. I sincerely like to thank all of you, my family, and my own family for all the kindness and love and help they have given me over the last 2 years. I thank you. Before I need another few hankies, can I call your General Secretary, Tim Roach? Thank you, and thank you all.
Wasn't that thoroughly deserved? Sheila, first of all, Sheila and Wales South West, what a brilliant vote of thanks. Absolutely inspiring. Thank you so much for such kind words. I'm not going to speak for long, conference, because you've been so cooperative in getting this Congress into 2.5 days, which would have ordinarily been 5. And no, it isn't going to set the precedent for the future, believe me, although I've heard the kind rumours. 6 special reports, 4 charters, hundreds of motions moved from this rostrum so skillfully by yourselves. But as well as your magnificent cooperation, it takes an enormous amount of hard work to get this conference on in the first place, let alone to have to revisit the whole thing and move it from 5 days to 2. And we all turn up, me included, sweaty palms, ready to do your bit, ready to come and say your piece. But what you don't see, of course, is what I see day in, day out. And that is 2 people particularly who work, the first people in the morning in National Office and the very last to leave. 5 days, sometimes 6 and 7 days a week. And that's Ida Clemo and Steve Short. A remarkable achievement. I'll be honest with you, Conference, I've sat down there for many years, and last year when I was General Secretary for my first Congress, I really didn't know how much work it took. But now, having spent the whole year between Congresses, I really do now see how much work it takes to put Congress on every single year, and long will it continue. So thanks again, Ida, thanks Steve, thanks also to all of the staff, the people like Lauren here, who sit there and make sure that your name goes on the screen, the people who staff the information desk at the front, the people who, if you walk in to the GMB Congress office at the back, are working tirelessly to put this whole event on. T5 at the back there, who put the screens up, who make sure that the cameras work, who make sure the rostrum goes up, and all the stuff that we take for granted. Thank you all so much. Without you, it just wouldn't happen. I hope you liked the display as well as you walked in, the walk through the years, something befitting of our 100th Congress, because Congress, we must never forget, we're celebrating our 100th Congress, and that's a remarkable achievement in itself. Another person I need to thank, and again, when you sit there, it looks like a duck floating on the water, but underneath you want to see the bloody feet going, and that's Kathleen Walker-Shaw. Tirelessly up and down, making sure that it's running along smoothly, helping out Mary, helping out Malcolm. Kathleen, thank you so much for all your help again. And of course, to our amazing President and Vice Presidents, Mary and Malcolm. Mary, just to see you here wasn't just an inspiration for the trade union movement, but it was an inspiration for every single working person in this country. Your fight, your spirit, your constitution, your will is just knows no bounds. We are so proud of you, mate, and so proud to work alongside you, and may it continue for very many years to come. And Malk, the same for you. Always stepping in, exactly as Sheila said, Sometimes Mary can't get to business during the week, and Malcolm always ably steps in and does a fantastic job. You are both the proudest people in this organisation. We, as a trade union, GMB, want to build a 21st century union. That means breaking new ground. That means taking chances, taking risks, having a go, doing something different. But you can't do that if you don't have that rock of stability at our very centre. And that is Mary and Malcolm, and I thank you both so much. And there's just two other people I want to thank. The first is my PA, Wendy Bartlam, whose very first job it was last year when she joined GMB, when she came to work for us, was to come to Congress. So you can tell that Wendy, along with me, had hardly been in this role for 5 minutes when we started off last year. And throughout the year, Wendy, you've been absolutely unstinted. Your professionalism, your support, you being my right hand and my left hand as well at times, but not just your support, your professionalism, your skills, your dedication, but also your fun as well. You're great to have around, and I think the world of you. Thank you so much, Wendy. And last but not least, we're a family, GMB, we're a family. And of course, we've all got our own families. And this job is tough. Yes, it's very tough. I was speaking to PK about it a couple of nights ago. And sometimes I'm away 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week. And we've got a 15-year-old son. And my wife, Mandy, is his mum and his dad. And it's bloody tough, and I love you so much. Thank you so much for everything. We all know that without the support of our families, we could never do this job. Mandy, thank you so much. Thank you. So, Congress, it's been cut short this year for a very good reason. That very good reason is a general election. As I said in my speech, as soon as I leave here, I'll be out on the knocker, on the campaign trail, trying to seek the election of a Labour government. Please do all that you can to do the same. And let's get the Labour government that working people so desperately need. Free childcare, free school meals, workers' rights from day one, fairness and security for workers, a massive house building programme, properly funded care for those who need and deserve it, and a properly funded NHS that this country desperately needs. Every single vote is crucial. But whatever the outcome on June the 9th, whatever the shade of government that's in number 10, I know that we will continue to do the job that is most important to us, and that is fighting for our members. Walk tall, leave Plymouth walking 6 feet tall. I'm so proud to work alongside you. I'm so proud and honoured to lead you as your General Secretary. Have a wonderful trip home, and thank you for a great week. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Oh. Thank you, Tim. I don't know about walking tall. You'll be blinking 3 inch shorters next year, knocking on the doors. But anyway, well done, and I thank you very much indeed. Now, Congress, the next part of our closing ceremony is in 2. We will now have a short slide show with some highlights of the Congress. And if you've been caught napping, it'll be showing up on here. So something I asked to be returned, which we used to have some fun, and slideshow and music will now be shown. Oh dear, didn't catch any of you out. So you've all got good marks. well done to you all. We will now all stand and sing the red flag.